The Peach State, now the apple of the political world's eye. With just over a month until the Georgia Senate runoffs, Vice President Pence is campaigning in Savannah for Republicans David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, while President Obama is hosting a virtual rally for Democrats Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. NBC News correspondent Blayne Alexander is in Atlanta. Blayne, President Trump heads to that state tomorrow for his first rally since losing the election. He has been railing against Georgia Governor KEMP all week long. Here's how the governor finally responded last night on Fox News.
I'm frustrated like he is. A lot of people are. The president, as I said many times, he's a fighter. You know, we've had a few battles, but nobody worked harder for Donald Trump before November 3rd, and I've continued to support his efforts in the campaigns any way that I legally could post the election, and I'll continue to do that.
Blayne, what are you hearing from top Republican leaders there? What do they want to hear from the president this weekend?
Well, Allison, you summed it up very well. You know, Republicans, what they want to hear is more talk about the senators, Senator Kelly Loeffler and Senator David Perdue. That's what they hope the president focuses on, and much less of airing his own grievances with his issues with the Georgia election. So, you know, I've spoken with a number of Republican sources who say that President Trump really has the power to either hurt or help this, depending on how much time he spends on either topic. So they're certainly hoping that he talks about the senators. But as you pointed out, you know, for the better part of 2 weeks now, he really has had a lot of focus on not only attacking with unfounded claims the validity of the Georgia election, but attacking Georgia's governor, attacking Georgia's Secretary of State, both of whom are Republicans and both of whom outwardly supported President Trump in his reelection bid. So, you know, Republicans that I've spoken to, Republicans around the state, are very much hoping that they're not going to have to essentially be in a position where they almost have to push back on what President Trump is saying. You know, they really want to focus their entire message on saying, hey, come out, support these two candidates in January, but they don't want to be in that tough position of almost pushing back on his unfounded claims of election fraud and making sure that people know that their votes will count in January. Allison.
Blayne, the Washington Post is reporting that Senator Perdue appeared to acknowledge that Joe Biden won the election in a video call that he had with Republicans. It's something he has not yet done publicly. What can you tell us about that call?
Yeah, the conversation was actually essentially talking about why it's important that Republicans hold the majority. And in the context, he was saying that if there is a Republican majority in the Senate, then that could almost act as if as a checks and balances, or kind of the last stop against the Biden presidency. I'm paraphrasing here. But take a listen to a little bit of that recording that was obtained by the Washington Post.
If we can keep the majority in the Senate, we can at least be a buffer on some of the things that the Biden camp has been talking about in terms of their foreign policy.
Spokesperson for Perdue's campaign did respond and essentially called it a non-story, saying that all along the senator is in support of President Trump's push for what he calls a fair election. Now, it is interesting, though, and what's notable about this is that essentially this flies in the face of what Senators Perdue and Loeffler have been signaling publicly, which is certainly backing President Trump's claims and of unfounded claims, rather, of voter fraud. Allison.
Blayne, these Senate runoff races will decide the balance of power in the Senate. Could President Trump's claims, these baseless claims about voter fraud, actually scare people away from voting next month? And we are starting to hear that some people are sort of questioning the process.
And that's what Republicans are afraid of, Allison. That's exactly what they're now kind of saddled with, this added burden of trying to disprove. So, you know, we already know that, for instance, the GOP chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, was here in town last week, and she was faced with a number of questions. Among them, why should we even bother to vote if the race is already decided? So she had to push back on that and say, hey, the race isn't decided. That's kind of the point that we're making. We want you to come out and vote. And now Republicans have to have this added burden of doing these double messages. And what's important to say is that, yes, even though President Trump lost here in the state of Georgia by a narrow margin to Joe Biden, there are a lot of Republicans, a huge faction of Republicans that listen to him, listen closely to him, which is why some Republicans that I've spoken to say that it really depends on what he has to say as to whether this is helpful or hurtful. Allison.
All right, Blayne Alexander in a very foggy, gloomy Atlanta today. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.